there wasn't, due to complete misunderstanding of the hobby, of role-playing games, especially D&D back in the 70s, to just the general misunderstanding of what the idea was role-playing games were, how they were played, that a lot of folks just didn't have the opportunity to really try it out or see how it actually worked and how much fun it was. And now we have a new generation of folks that grew up with most of their forms of gaming entertainment being digital and online and remotely with other folks on Xbox Live being shot by 12-year-olds using racial slurs over Xbox Live. And while that is a fulfilling experience in some way, shape, or form, nothing can really capture the experience of sitting around a table with a bunch of friends and playing Betrayal on the House of the Hill, or Mansions of Madness, or Munchkin and ruining friendships for weeks and weeks. Let alone actually sitting with some friends and creating your own characters and building a narrative that just kind of drives itself organically and having these experiences that you can recall years and years later like you were actually there. And that's kind of the pleasure of role-playing games and board games, is that social aspect, that kind of inherent tribal need that we as people that were once, roving nomad bands of families out in the wild, scrounging for berries, would sit around the fire and tell stories. And there's so much about our culture inherent in that experience. And through the digital age, I think an element of that was unintentionally lost for a while. And so I think after years and years of that being the norm, there's been this resurgence largely because innately we as human beings crave that type of contact, that the ability to play a game or tell a story and see another person's face in front of you and see their reactions and see them laugh, see them cry, see them smile, see them, reel back in shock. And nothing really compares with that. And so I think in recent years there's been this resurgence and this re-understanding of having game nights or, organizing with friends, as hard as it can be as we become adults with responsibilities and kids and all that stuff. Yeah, you understand. So it's been really exciting. It's been really cool to watch this reemergence, partially because people who had previously had weird judgments or really had no idea how these type of games worked are now showing interest and asking, like, so, how do you play D&D? And then I explain, it's very simple. It's you and your friends improvising and telling communal stories, and then you roll the dice to justify whether or not a challenge succeeds or fails. And then you yes-and it, which is a general rule of improv. You just go with it and you continue the story based on the outcome. And they're like, oh, that's it? I thought it was some weird cult thing where you put on costume. I'm like, well, you can be that, yeah. I mean, many of us may have gone into the woods for a weekend to dress up as a character and LARP for a while, and that's awesome too. A little harder, you see? A little harder to describe in social settings, but nevertheless, it's the same general key. There's something so fun about experiencing and sharing this with other people. But now we're in an age where people are more open to this idea, and we're having a bunch of individuals realizing this isn't necessarily a nerd hobby, it's a hobby, and us nerds were just the first to find it, And so we're just like slowly bringing the rest of the world in, and it's really fun. Exactly.
One of us!
Yeah. Maybe they weren't that wrong. Maybe this is the best kind of cult you could join. Which, as somebody on Twitter posted a picture a few days ago, somebody actually built a shrine to Taliesin and Percy with like candles and the dice arranged in like some sort of a glyph pattern to like try and bless their dice with better rolls. And Taliesin said, "This is it. This is everything in my life has been to bring me to this moment. I have a cult." Which, knowing Taliesin, as some of you have gotten to know about the past year, that's essentially the truth. He wasn't at all embellishing on that. Yeah, it's been really amazing. And on top of just games being games and fun, there's, just like the tribal experiences of sitting together on the fire and telling stories, it's a bonding experience. It builds community. It builds a sense of camaraderie and friendship that a lot of other more impersonal, creative experiences can't really create or construct. And even just our little Twitch show, we've watched such an incredible community rise up out of it that has transcended anything the show could ever possibly be. Like there's this incredible feeling of it's almost like we raised a powerful hero that grew up to want to be like Dad, but now Dad's like old and aged, and the son's like powerful and has Thor's hammer, and you're like, go out in the world and do the good that we don't have the strength to do, kid. It's a very weird analogy, but if you go with me on it, it worked better in my head than an actual usage of the words, which happens with most things I try and say. So bear with me. But yeah, it's been a really cool experience. And for those who haven't seen the show, it is a show called Critical Role on Geek and Sundry's Twitch, where me and a bunch of other, as many of you know the term, a bunch of us nerdy-ass voice actors sit around, roll dice, and play D&D. And it's every Thursday night for the most part. Some of us have. Yeah. We try and do as often as possible. We have to take breaks now and then because we're human beings. I know, what the hell? It's weird.
Lies and slander.
I know. But yet, whenever we do miss a game, we all get in our text thread that Thursday evening that we're not playing and be like, this feels weird. This feels wrong. But yeah, it's just been a really cool experience. We were worried at first. We were honestly very worried because we played privately for 2 years before it actually became a show, and we were very guarded because it's a personal thing. And for a lot of our players, which our players include, those who also aren't aware, we have Marisha Ray, my lady, Calvin Jaffe, who I mentioned earlier, we have Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham, talented voice actors in all of their own rights. Liam O'Brien, Sam Riegel, and Ashley Johnson, who we have back temporarily on loan from Blind Spot. Curse you! Mainstream television, your successful on-camera career.
Oh, we still love her.
I know. She's actually, she's not just her and the writers have slipped in a bunch of Critical Role references into the actual prime show Blind Spot now. We thought it was all her, and she told us, like, oh, we saw you slip in the mug or your mention of your gnome cleric on the show. She's like, I didn't put that in there, the writers put it in there. They watch the show now. But yeah, so we all just started a game a few years ago because Liam decided that he wanted to play again since he was 15. And a bunch of people who had never really played before. I got to introduce a bunch of folks into role-playing games, which I freaked them out at first. So when they came over to my apartment to play, I had my hood and cloak on. And they walked in, I was like, sit and do not speak till the dungeon master says it is so. Like they were, oh no, is this the sequel Dies Wide Shut? I don't know what's happening. It was perfect. But within 10 minutes, it clicked. Watching each one of them go like, oh, I'm just talking in character and making stuff up, and okay, let's do this. Once they gave themselves permission to go ahead and let go of any preconceptions of how the game would function and just dive in and have fun, they were all hooked. Yes. And so 2 years later, Felicia Day had gotten a conversation with Ashley, our cleric, at a party, and she talked about the game, and she was like, oh, well, you guys should do that on Geek and Sundry. And we were like, cameras. And they were like, well, we could film it and edit it and make it really fancy looking with the graphics. And we're like, we just want to play. And they're like, well, we have Twitch. I'm like, do you want to change anything and we'll be able to make a whole bunch of mistakes on the internet and have it yell at us? Yes. Cool, let's do it. And so that's how the show came about. But yeah, it's definitely been a huge turning point in my life. Turning a hobby like this of mine, I'm so passionate about it for so many years, and just discreetly mentioning it at certain social gatherings in case somebody heard it and went like, "Oh, Palladium Universe? Are you talking about riffs?" And I'd be like, "Yes. Let us abscond from all these strange normies and talk about the viability of MDC armor and glitter boy ridiculous physics." Riffs is awful. I love it. But now we've watched this whole trend where the geeks, the nerds, the folks that grew up playing these games and playing video games and reading sci-fi and fantasy novels, they were raised by Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Piers Anthony, and all these folks are now inheriting the entertainment industry. That's why you're seeing now this new wave. In some cases, the nostalgic remakes can get a little frustrating, but we're seeing this new wave of mainstream media absorbing and geek culture becoming culture. And it can be a little scary at times, especially for those of us who had to fight so hard to make that our identity growing up. And for some folks, it's hard to let that go. But I see the other side of it. I think it's really exciting that now so many more people can be part of what inspired us to be who we are today. And that we can share these experiences with people. The kids that might have beaten us up in high school or elementary school are now coming back being like, oh, I'm sorry about that. By the way, that costume is really cool. Can you show me how to make that armor? And you're like, yes. Yes, I can. And I think that there's something so beautiful about that. And this is just one of those facets of that rise in geek culture is role-playing games coming back to the forefront. And nothing makes me more excited than getting all these Twitter photos of all these fans, all these critters of our show, sending us videos or images from their home games and telling us stories from their experiences. And like I'll get home at night before I go to bed and just take like 20-30 minutes just reading through these stories of other people's adventures, many of them that started playing because of our show, and I feel like a proud papa. It's really exciting. But anyway, nevertheless, I'm going to stop mouth rambling at you for a while, and we'll start getting some questions. So, Ginny, over there with the microphone, we'll go ahead and I'll call people. She'll come to you and just ask your question into the microphone. Use your breath, use your diaphragm so I can hear you, and I'll answer those questions accordingly. So, let's see. Let's start this lonely dice holding lady over here, please. Hello again. Oh yes, I remember you from the earlier panel. Good to see you. So, what is your name and your question?
My name is Jocelyn.
Hello again, Jocelyn.
Do you remember the characters I drew for you in the picture I gave to you?
Yeah, I have the poster up in my hotel room.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that.
If Crom, Kanji, and Levi, which was the eyes for one of them, fell into the realm of Critical Role, what do you think each of their reactions would be?
If Levi, Kanji, and Crom all fell into the world of Critical Role.
Yeah.
Crom would be frustrated that the party would never let him fight with them. Because you gotta continue the Smash Brothers joke. Levi would swoop in every boss battle to be the Deus Ex Machina and make everyone feel like really crappy players. And Kanji would start a shop with Gilmore. Because that would be hilarious. Actually, as a fan of your film, Mr. Ralph there, I want to go ahead and take your question.
Do I stand up for this? Is this what I do?
You can if you'd like to. You may stand if you wish. You can show everyone your fantastic outfit. Yep.
Well, the person who's not standing up because I constantly embarrass her because that's the kind of person I am is my girlfriend. She's the one that made this because I'm a filthy casual.
Well done, you did a great job.
She did a wonderful job and she puts up with me, which I think reserves some applause for myself at least. But I have been watching your show since day one.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Yeah. I've been watching it, and like it's what got me through my first year of college. It was just like wait until Thursday, because like at least it'll give me something to think about other than this. Because engineering's hard, and I didn't realize it would be.
It's hard, but it's important, man. The world needs engineers.
Oh yeah, of course. But my actual question is a two-parter because I don't think I'm ever going to get to ask you questions ever again. First one, you won't. This is your last chance. We'll see about that.
No, this question.
Kermit doesn't like your attitude, okay? Oh, really?
Sorry, what you got?
So the first one is, how do you get into your head and modulate your voice to find the different kinds of accents that you use on the show? How do you like perfect them and think of them and use them in the appropriate situation? And the other one is, have you ever had your own player character from a previous game that you've shoved into the game as like your own little Easter egg that only you know about?
I'll answer the second question first. Yes, actually. It happened pre-stream, and he may come back at some point in the game, but they were temporarily managed for an underground fight ring called the Brawlers League by a bald, one-eyed, beardless dwarf named Grimthor. Draden Grimthor, and he wanted to manage them for an underground fighting ring, and we'll split the proceeds. What do you say? That was my Dwarven fighter I played in my first 4th edition game, way back when this first came out, and we didn't know better. Which let me say, 4E had some things going for it. There were a handful. And they carried this over to 5E, and the rest they went, nope. But yeah, so I brought him over into that game to be an NPC for a few elements, and he's still out there in the world, Eldora somewhere, probably. I don't think he fell in Mon, but we'll see.
Like, as long as he wasn't in a Mon, right?
Yeah, I don't think he was. But yeah, so that and there's been a few other NPCs that are parts of player characters I may have played in the past that I kind of brought over. To answer the first part of your question, being crazy helps tremendously. A lot of it's just practice. It's spending a lot of time by yourself talking to yourself, which I do a lot. Whether I'm in the shower or while driving, I'm perpetually just improvising scenes. I'm the crazy guy under the overpass, and I accept that. But no, it's practicing and finding your range, learning textures, listening to yourself back a lot. Like you would train for any other voiceover element, you read out loud a lot, and just find what strange places your voice can go, and then record them when you get to something pretty cool. And I have a whole slew of audio recordings at home of just random voices I came up with on the drive to some place, and oh cool, record 10 seconds, and then can use that later for reference to try and find my way back. As far as accents go, you can either study the IPA, which is the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is an actual phonetic breakdown of how you can learn dialects by just visually reading it spelled out through this alphabet. I know it sounds strange, it's very technical. I don't do that. I'm more of an ear learner, so I listen and repeat and kind of learn through just experiencing and listening. And there's a great website called the IDEA, the International Dialects of English Archive. It's all free, it's all on the internet, and they have audio files of people speaking in English from all over the world with all the different types of accents and dialects you could possibly really hope to find. And the recordings over the past 50, 60 years. And they can be, you choose like Asia, and then you choose the lower countries, and then you choose the region, and then you choose the city, and then they'll have people who've lived there for part of their life, and you get to hear what that natural dialect or accent sounds like. And so those are really, really good places to reference. And in my games, when I'm designing it for an NPC, sometimes I'll consider regionally where they came from, and find some sort of a real world tie into it. That way it makes it a little easier transition, makes it a little more believable. If they're an exotic character, I might pick dialects that are similar to a more exotic realm from our world. Or sometimes I just want them to stand out and be unique, and I'll pick something that's different from most of the other NPCs they've encountered in the region. So there's no true rhyme or reason as to why I'll do consistent dialects, other than dwarves being between Scottish and Cornwall, West Country, because I just love that trope so much. But yeah, and you just take notes. For every NPC, beyond just like their physical attributes, their general personality and things that they're seeking to do, I'll put in parentheses, higher vocal range, comma, light texture, comma, brash and loud, no volume control. Or, low, gritty, comma, almost nearly a badass whisper, comma, hint of cockney. And that way, if they ever want to encounter the NPC down the road, even if I don't remember 20 episodes ago when they showed up, I can quickly look at their NPC note and at least get in the ballpark to how they sound before without having to tell players, hold on a second, I gotta go look up the episode. All right, sounds like this, just take way too long. Good question. All right, let's go ahead and let's give some love to the back row, the gentleman with the light blue shirt and the glasses. Mike's coming your way.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Ginny. You're gonna have applause for Ginny for running around.
Okay, so I have two questions. Very easy. For the first one is yes or no. Are there any kitsunes in your world?
Any kitsunes?
Yes.
I haven't thought of that. Not yet. But it's also still a developing thing. Like, I haven't completed the entire world of Exandria. No, I have like a few sections that are pretty well fleshed out, and a lot that will continue to be fleshed out over time, because I'm already way too busy.
The second one is, sometime down the line, could there be a possible way you DM a giant battle royale of Vox Machina versus Acquisitions Incorporated?
That would be beyond my scope to organize. that would be something to do like along with the Dungeons and Dragons crew and the scheduled timing of everyone else on the Acquisitions Inc. team. I mean, that'd be a lot of fun. That would also be a very crazy battle. Plus, I'm pretty sure Vox Machina right now is at a higher level than the Acquisitions
Well, they're
guys.
actually level 15 right now, so.
Oh, they're level 13 now?
No, 15.
15?
Yes.
Oh.
As of PAX East, they're level 15.
Then never mind. Then yeah. I mean, we'd have to get them behind it, or it'd have to be a scheduled thing with everybody able to make it, but I'd be down.
Finally, could I give you my first Dungeon Dragon dice?
Why? Why? That's your first set. You should keep that.
I want you to have my first. You've inspired me.
It's supposed to be emotional. It's supposed to be fun to have.
So thank you very much.
It's like a translucent purple too. I know this brand. This is my first brand. This, but it was green. But I bought it. Asylum Comics and Cards in Agora. I totally forgot about that. It's where I used to play Magic the Gathering before I started playing D&D. Yeah, many of us lost a lot of money to that. And I blame Ian Sinclair for getting me back into it a year ago. I was like 20 years clean of Magic the Gathering. And he's like, hey man, check out these cool planeswalkers. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But no, I'm over the whole card collector game. I got burned on the World of Warcraft card game when that came out. He's like, hey man, you want to go in on a box with me? We'll split it half. I'm like, no, okay. Now I have like 4 decks. It's a problem. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get to this side of the room a little bit. Let's go. I have to go Lucina. I'm a little biased.
Yay!
Yes, daughter.
Since you play 2 major roles in both the latest Fire Emblem games, what is your favorite thing about being part of the Fire Emblem world?
My favorite part of being part of the Fire Emblem world?
Yes.
I'm a big proponent of classic Japanese RPGs. That's what I grew up playing. I had a period of time in my middle school years, between 6th and 8th grade, where my ritual was Friday after school, go to Blockbuster Video. For those who don't know, that used to be a place where you'd go to get videos and games for a short time, and then return it. And if you didn't, they found your family and murdered them with debt. But yeah, I rented Friday, and then try and beat the RPG by Sunday when it was due. And so I went to like the Lufia series, the Breath of Fire series, Secret of Evermore, got even like the old school NES Star Tropics, Earthbound, like so many. It was all I did. So, but the Fire Emblem games the original ones never came out here. But I remember seeing artwork in magazines, and I was really excited that one day they would start bringing it over. And then when the first Smash Brothers came out, they still didn't really have representation here in the North Americans. Everyone was like, who are these weird-looking guys with swords? I'm like, you shut up! They're cool in other languages. So for me, it was really exciting to be a part of bringing the awareness to that great classic series over into the US. Oh, we got bootleg. And so that was really exciting for me personally, because then I had a chance to really play that wasn't like a fan translation that you had to find out an emulator online that usually ended up crashing your computer. And then got to watch the fandom rise out of it too, and have all these people that also really enjoyed it and got back into like tactical RPGs. And so my biggest joy out of that was just being a part of its kind of its awakening here in the US. I know, it wasn't intentional, it just worked out that way. Deal with it. It's like it was fake. Good question. Don't date me, boys. All right. Let's come up here in the front. Actually, you sir, right there. This gentleman here, but yes, this gentleman here. But I'll come to you afterward because I confused you and I feel bad. Yes.
Okay, so like I noticed in like one episode when they were fighting the vampires.
Yes.
One of them gets stabbed with a stake. He doesn't die.
Yes.
But when he goes down to 0, he doesn't miss out.
What, when the stake is in the actual body of the vampire?
Yeah, but they the rest of the party just gave up on it after that because I guess they thought it didn't do anything.
Right, yeah. Well, they weren't very well trained against vampires at that point in the campaign. Yeah, there's an interesting element of the game where you build a character or an individual that is very well learned in the way that certain creatures are designed. We don't have a lot of undead specialists in our party, which is part of what was the fun about the Briarwood arc for me, was a lot of the party was kind of like, whoa, he did what? Oh no! So they were thinking more in the classic, myth ways. If you stab a vampire with a stake, they can't do anything. It's like, well, no, that's a way that you keep them in, usually when they're already sleeping in their coffin to prevent them from absconding away from the place. And so, not fully understanding and seeing that it didn't have any immediate effect, they were like, well, who needs these stakes? So it was unfortunate on their part, per se.
If they would have stabbed him first and then took it down to 0, they wouldn't have missed it out on the rest of the...
If they had stabbed him, I'll have to look at the specifics of the ruling there, but it would have been one of those things where when it's brought to 0 hit points, it would not go to miss form. It would probably be held there in place.
Okay,
you would still have to destroy it in the classic ways you would have to, probably, but it prevents them from, it essentially pins and paralyzes them from going away.
Okay, because I was wondering about that, because that seemed a little OP and they just kind of forgot all about it.
It's designed specifically in the rule system to not be that kind of oh, well, I'll just take this table leg and boom, CR13 vampire, done. So yeah, that's kind of what I like about, and also that, given that case, everything in the books are guidelines. A lot of creatures I tweak and alter and add stuff and change stuff, partially because some players happen to know a lot about creatures and you want to keep them on their toes. You have those players who've been playing for 15 years and they see a beholder and they're like, oh, I know what beholders do. You're like, oh, do you?
No.
Did you know that this beholder can somehow fire eye stalks and have them latched to a wall to fire independently?
Whoa.
You're like, what? You can't do that? I guess I can. It's my world. Yeah. So it's a fun way to keep your party on their toes, to even keep an air of mystery and surprise to even classic players. And if there's something you think invalidates a creature's danger that isn't, too heavily tied to the lore necessarily, you can change it and alter it to where it's a little weaker, or take it out entirely and have a story reason. Maybe this vampire was born under a splintered tree, and the tree has given them the power to not care about wood. I don't know. But yeah, so good question. All right, now you have a question, because I feel bad that I confused you at the beginning.
I was just wondering if you have any particular favorite campaigns that you've run or been in.
Campaigns, I haven't, well, no, I really enjoyed playing, I did a short campaign that I played in called Diaspora, which is kind of a spacefaring RPG that was run by Philip Eisner, who was the guy who wrote the movie Event Horizon.
Ooh.
So that got very dark.
Wow.
Very quickly. But one of the players, my friend Adam Birch, he's actually publishing a book that he wrote based on the campaign with our characters in it. He asked for permission. He's like, can I use your character, Clay Welker, who was like this kind of pilot who was kind of drug addicted and was trying to reclaim his life because his wife left him with his kid, and he's trying to prove himself to reclaim them. He doesn't really have any power. He's just a pretty decent pilot and kind of a crack shot. And he's written a book about this whole party now, and I'm like, that's really cool that now that might live on in this other media. So that has a little special campaign element to me. As far as running them though, I mean the current campaign, I'm absolutely adoring the fact that we've run through so much from Vox Machina story. I haven't had a campaign run this long. Usually things peter out, people's schedules get crazy, and you get to about level 10, 11 from one, and people scatter to the 4 winds. So I'm excited this is still going. Before that, I ran a 2.5-year Ravenloft campain. That was very satisfying.
Whoa.
Based on the 3.5 expedition to Ravenloft, and it was, it was delicious. So when they brought Curse of Strahd in, I was like, yes! More people can learn of the majesty of this terrible, terrible place called Barovia. Oh, it's good. Good question. All right, let's see, I can start getting through these as quickly, so I want to get as many questions as possible. Let's go ahead and bring it over here, right there on the edge, my dear. Yes, you.
Do you think you'll bring in any elements of Storm King's Thunder into your current campaign, since they're starting that, and I want to see them fight giants?
I mean, giants exist in the world, definitely. It hasn't come too heavily into the story at this time. I'm not sure. I'm curious to read the book. I think it's really, really cool that they're bringing elements of giant culture to the world so people can understand there is more to giants than just they're big and they like to smash things. Well, that's about the hill giants. That's about all they have. But like the upper levels of the ordning. So yeah, I'm excited they're putting that out there. I'll see what content there might work or facilitate stuff to the world. But I also don't want to jam everything into the campaign. It's hard to be like, I want this campaign to have a little bit of everything. Because one, you're not saving anything for future games. And two, all of a sudden you've realized that Taldore is the most dangerous continent ever because every horrible thing is there in like a 20-mile radius. So there'll be a lot of things that don't get used in this campaign. But that allows me to prepare for it whenever this campaign's over and everyone starts new characters, probably somewhere else in Exandria, which I'm thinking about doing. Then there might be other elements and other creatures and other societies that never even got touched in this campaign that can then become a major part of the story moving forward. So if not this campaign, giants will play in at some point, I'm sure. We'll just have to see if that happens. Mystery. All right, let's actually, Scooting's still on this side. That's not fair. You have the power of a hand and a finger pointing to the hand. That's like ×2 hand raising. You're dressed as Pike?
Yeah.
You have a question and I'm going to answer right now. Oh, we got a fact. What's the I want you guys to walk out so people can see your costume and then you can answer the question because that looks awesome.
Yeah!
And we got Vex and Trinket, man. All right. Oh, Trinket's got the bows in the hair. Oh, yeah, I love it. This is so good. Come on over, come on over. Look at that. His legs are so cute. With the broom.
Hi, I'm Kat. And,
Hi, Kat.
I love Critical Role. It's great.
Thank you.
My question is, so Vox Machina gets up to a lot of crazy stuff, like turning cows and taking blue dumps on the floor. So my question is how do you manage to stay in the role of DM and not completely lose your shit?
Tranquilizers. No, it's horrible. No, you just, through a lot of training in improv, you learn to try and not break character, you know, when you're doing scene work like that, and it is a lot of restraint on my end, but even then, there's many times you see me break, because I'm only human. And Sam is inhuman. He is an entity of pure ridiculousness. So yeah, I mean, it's just trying to concentrate, letting the players laugh. Plus, there's nothing more disconcerting than a dungeon master that maintains their cool. There's something fun about having the players be like, oh, it's funny, and they look over and you're like, Why is he so serious still? Why is he laughing? That was pretty funny. Oh God, what's gonna happen? You know, like, keep them on their toes a little bit. So it just comes to practice, and it, whenever you see me playing it cool, it's me going, don't break, it's cool, okay, it's passed, we're good. Yeah, buy a thread every time, I assure you. You guys look amazing. All right, and because I have to as well, I'm probably gonna have to take Trinket's question over.
Yay! Trinket.
The bows with a nice touch. That's one that pushed it over the edge for me.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Kate.
Hi, Kate.
My question is, do you have a favorite Critical Role moment, and what is it?
Favorite Critical Role moment? Oh, yeah. For me personally, a few moments are going to stand out to me more than the destruction of Iman. And there's many reasons for that. It wasn't the funniest moment, it was definitely one of the darkest moments in the show, but it was also realizing that I had to take something that I'd built for years and years and fleshed out and designed, and because the narrative called for it, and because it really drove the rest of the story, to just knock it to the ground, and it hurt, and it sucked, and it was delicious. It's really weird. It's like building this great sandcastle and just like, no! Only the sandcastle took 2 years. So that was a very big moment for me. As far as player moments go, few things can really match the multi-size brigade of cows flying into the night sky. That was pretty legit. The look on Will Wheaton's face when he ran into another acid trap, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Oh man, Scanlan's creative uses of Big B's hand, especially in this Thursday's episode. I'm not going to spoil anything if anyone hasn't seen it yet, but let me just say, the Conclave has adopted a new fear. And you have no suffering magical darkness. This is great. Yeah, I mean, I'm a bard lover. Bards are my favorite class anyway, and the way that Sam takes that and just runs with it, I'm so proud of him. Yeah, anybody who ever says like, well, bards are weak, I'm like, fuck you. And the dragon you rode in on. All right. Let's go ahead and we have a gentleman back there with a fantastically large Hearthstone card border. He's been very patient.
My question was, what do you do differently from other DMs to really bring your characters to life, if you do anything at all?
Well, according to the internet, not know the rules. Which, to be fair, like, whenever anybody complains about, this rule didn't work, you forgot this rule, I know most of it's not out of, anger and spite. They're just invested and they feel like they're involved and they're trying to correct and help, and that's actually really helpful in some cases. Some people maybe are not so nice with the delivery, but for the most part, it's totally fine. I've had experience with many Dungeon Masters, and every Dungeon Master is different. Like, there are things that I'm really good at, and things that I'm not very good at. And there are people that are much better at things that I do, and conversely, things that I do that I'm better at than they are. Every Dungeon Master has their own style, and that's what's so cool about it. You have very different experiences from table to table, and no two are really alike. And so I think my strengths would be improvised narrative and NPC depth. Those are the things I really, really emphasize. Because to me, I love characters, I love people, I love humanity, I love finding facets in there, evil, good, between the two, and I love putting those elements into the world around it. And I think I'm pretty good about taking curveballs that are thrown at me and finding a way to still tell the story as part of it. So those are my strengths. Weaknesses, free time. Weaknesses would be deciding to have a large group like that. There's a lot of players. Weaknesses would be a lack of overall experience with the 5th edition system when it comes to scaling difficulty, so it's still a perpetual learning experience for me. This campaign is my first time playing 5th edition, and I've never played a campaign this high level in a long time either, so a lot of it's, some battles might be harder than I anticipated, some battles might be easier than I anticipated, and that's just how it works out.